Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, as you know, I always try and highlight the positive aspects of technology and how it's transforming entire industries. But in the name of balance, I must have a little whinge today about the so-called AI algorithms used on social networks such as Facebook and LinkedIn. For example, for me, Facebook is now almost unusable as it no longer puts your friends' updates in time and date order, but just seems to handpick half a dozen of your friends and bombard you with their status and just silence everyone else. So within 30 seconds of scrolling, I'm looking at 2-week-old posts and 300 other friends seem to be completely silenced. What's that all about? Equally, on LinkedIn, I'm fortunate enough to have over 13,000 followers of people who chose to follow me and made that decision to click the follow button. But I'm getting a lot of messages recently that they no longer see my updates. It seems in a lot of circles AI still has a lot of learning to do. I'm curious, what are your recent experiences on LinkedIn and Facebook? As always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. But enough of my rants. I recently discovered a Danish startup that beat 2,500 nominees to reach 5 national finalists for the Nordic Startup of the Year. And they also made a pretty big announcement today. That company is called Templafy. And Templafy essentially brings custom company templates, brand assets, best practice content all together directly inside any Office application, which streamlines how users create on-brand and compliant documents, presentations, and even emails. So, for any business leaders listening, with Templafy, global businesses safeguard their business integrity and increase productivity through a centrally governed, secure and easy-to-use platform. The startup was founded in Copenhagen in Denmark back in 2014, and Templafy's team leveraged more than 15 years of experience in template management and document automation to develop an enterprise cloud service solution, which is now a global market leader within its category. And that's validated by blue-chip enterprise customers on every continent. But enough of my spoilers. Buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Denmark so we can speak with Christian Lund from Templafy. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yes, so my name is Christian Lund. I am a co-founder of Templafy, and I oversee what we do with our product and make sure that the things we put into the product are suitable for the market and that the business understands well how to take it to the market when we have new stuff.
I also believe I need to congratulate you guys on beating over 2,500 nominees for Templafy to reach the 5 national finalists for the Nordic Startup of the Year award. I mean, that's a fantastic achievement on its own. Can you expand on that?
Well, it is, yes. We're very happy and proud to be in that position, of course. There's a lot of things going on in the whole Scandinavian region and not the least in Copenhagen. So we feel very fortunate that others see that too and are very happy about that achievement for sure.
Now, we will have people listening in over 165 different countries all over the world. So I think we must mention that you do have a thriving tech startup scene, don't you, in the Nordic region there?
We definitely have a very, a lot of things are going on in the startup scene here in Copenhagen. So, especially not the least around the SaaS and enterprise area. So things are moving extremely fast, and I think there's a lot of good things coming out of this region. So we're very happy and fortunate to be a part of that.
So, can you tell me more about your experience working with enterprises to upgrade and migrate their technology to avoid falling behind that digital curve in relation to document creation?
Yes, well, I myself and we as a company and the founders group have been working around the enterprise software space for the past 15 years or so, and since 2014 with Templafy as a software as a service. And when we originally spun out the company into Templafy, it was really based on that particular scenario that we see all over the world, where large enterprises are transitioning from the ways they used to work with this and the on-premise software, cumbersome updating processes and all that stuff, and really started there back then, 5-6 years ago, looking into what's going to happen when we start executing our cloud strategy and our digital transformation. So that's originally how we sort of looked into what's the opportunity to really go in and take this space around template management and document automation. And what we've seen then is that it's just been picking up. So there was a lot of sort of scratching the surface back then 6 years ago. But I think now is when it's really happening. And we look at it, I think, it's especially around certain industries in this way, that we have sort of these two trains running down a parallel track where you have all of a sudden these trains come to a stop and people start getting out of one and getting into another. And they seem to be running in the same direction. But the point is that it's really the best of these industries, the best from the the legal industry, and the best from the accounting industry and so on, that gets out of one train and onto the other. And that is really because they've now seen what technology can really do for them if they do it right and also at the right time. So essentially what they're doing is that they're jumping onto the train that takes them into the future, which is very much software as a service now. So that thing is just going on, and it's really been driven by the best companies in pretty much all industries in the enterprises. So I think that's really interesting to see, and it's really something that is happening right now.
It's a great analogy you use there, because it really does feel like there's a lot of excitement and people stepping up, like you say, getting on that train to the future. But just to get everyone listening on the same page, you've been speaking to all these businesses, but can you tell me a little bit more about what Templafy is and also what problems you're solving for these customers that are getting on that train to the future?
Absolutely. So Templafy is an enterprise template management and document automation platform. So we cater for the scenario that we see pretty much in all the enterprise we ever met, where every day employees produce thousands of documents, presentations, and emails, and spreadsheets, and price quotes, and contracts, and reports, and so on. And these businesses have a real hard time putting governance around what goes on around these documents, both in terms of how they look from a visual perspective and branding perspective, but also in terms of the content that goes inside of these. So, and also most of these businesses would have rules around what you need to do, but that is something that would take down productivity, because if you need to do a lot of extra work to be compliant, it's not exactly something that would help you work faster. So what we also do is that we help boost productivity for the end users. So essentially it's automation of everything related to compliance and business documents, and the boost of productivity at the same time on the user end.
So in your opinion, why are enterprises using SaaS products for template management?
Yes, template management is not new. So especially for, the big four companies and the big law firms and a lot of other industries, it's been done for many, many years to cater for the scenario that I just mentioned before. But that's been done in on-premise solutions. So what's happening for, I think, the best enterprises and pretty much a lot of enterprises now is that the whole IT infrastructure that they're now tapping into, not only around this, but also what they do with digital asset management, with storage, with their CRM systems, HR systems, and so on, is really going towards the cloud, and is being done as a software as a service platform. So I think the reason why they're also looking very much into tapping this into, or adding a software as a service solution around their template management and document automation, is because it taps so well into what other IT infrastructure they have. So essentially, if you can help the user when they're building a product, getting access to whatever content or data that is required around that process when they create the document, it's a super strong advantage. And that's essentially also what we do. We're with the user when they create the document. We help them make sure that it's a correct document and it's the one that's suitable for the scenario that they're in. But then we also connect to all the other infrastructure that the company has. So that would be their images and their digital asset management system, the data from the CRM system, for example. And I think that's a big reason for companies really to go in this direction and structure their whole digital infrastructure around the cloud in a very good way, and that includes template management and document automation too.
So if I was to ask you to look into your crystal ball, where do you see the Enterprise SAS ACM ecosystem actually heading, and how's that going to evolve?
Yeah, I think it's definitely headed into a very connected world. So I think for these different categories that we have around the ECM space, certainly in different areas, there are some very strong players. For example, on storage, definitely Dropbox and Box, and also Microsoft and Google. And on the CRM side, very much, for example, Salesforce. So I think some very strong players in these different categories are positioning themselves extremely strong because they get so strongly interconnected and essentially help each other, help these businesses really move forward fast. And that's, I think, a tendency that we definitely see. It's very connected towards the strongest services in each category. and they all really play extremely well together. And that's pretty much what I think is going to happen a lot over the next 3 to 5 years.
So Templafy brings custom and company templates, brand assets and best practice content all together directly inside any Office application, streamlining how users create on-brand and compliant documents, presentations and emails. But I've got to ask, I'm quite curious here, what kind of problems are business leaders actually coming to you with, and are you noticing any trends?
Yes, it's three major issues. One is the core scenario about how can we just have all this content and digital assets and templates delivered and deployed to our users to make sure that it's accessible wherever they need it, and not only on the Windows-based PC with Microsoft Office on it, but also anywhere else. How can we make sure that things are just available for us? And also make sure that we put some governance around how it's being used. That is one of the big scenarios, and it would typically come from brand managers and communication directors and CMOs. How can we get a hold of all these things and connect what we do as a business around these things and what we would like the users to do? The other really big thing is the whole automation part that is more bespoke into individual parts of the business. So how can we help individual user groups like salespeople or accountants or others do bespoke documents that are very complex but automate that whole process? So for example, I'm a user and I need to do a report, for example. So what I need is to have access to the template, and then I would need to put it together in a super smart way that is compiled by all the collateral and information that I have in the business. And I do that by asking to certain gating questions that essentially compiles the document for me automatically. So what I get from that is that I have something that looks correct and has the right information inside of it, and that is also done incredibly fast. And the final piece around that part is that I also need to make sure that when I reuse that document from my desktop, that it's kept intact, because it always connects with the latest data sources in my business to make sure that if anything has changed, that it's automatically updated. So that's really the second use case, help very specific groups inside of the business just work incredibly much faster. A lot of questions around that area. Can we help with that? And the third part is really back to the digital transformation part. We already have something in the business around template management and document automation, but it's an obsolete technology. We don't really want to support it. Somebody built it in a basement a long time ago. And now we want to move into something that is much more future-proof and can tap into our IT infrastructure in general. So those, I think, are the three main entries into Templafy that we hear a lot.
So what's next for Templafy? Is there anything else that you can share with us about the direction you're taking?
Yeah, one thing that we're very much looking into as a company is to obviously improve our core value proposition around template management and document automation that I've been speaking a little bit to today. And the other thing is that we also are looking very much into consolidating. So working very closely together with partners that do things that are complementary products around what we do, working a lot with the integration, as I mentioned before, into other IT infrastructures. So big part of what we do is really related to that, just to make everything much more automated and quicker and better to work with. And the final part, more from the business side, is also looking into acquisitions, so onboarding other technology into the Templafy platform to make an even stronger product.
Now, I also believe you've got quite a big announcement going out today. Could you share that with me?
Yeah, actually we do. So very happy to announce that we're joining forces with the German company SlideProof, who has a very strong offering around productivity in PowerPoint, really catering for the scenario where people can work much faster when doing professional presentations, especially around the consulting businesses, and also very strong tools around doing checks. So just to make you can almost consider it as a spell check for PowerPoint. So very excited to include that as part of the Templafy offering. And yes, that's true. That is announced today.
Well, a huge thanks for coming on the show today. I think there's so much room for opportunity here. But can you remind the listeners of where they can find you online, and also maybe contact a member of your team if they have any questions or if we've sparked their interest after today's conversation?
Yes, definitely. So Templafy is reachable on all social channels, #Templafy, and also, of course, on www.templafy.com. I myself, Christian Lund, available anytime you would need me to. My email address is cl@templafy.com.
Fantastic. Well, I think because you've got this Startup Awards coming up, we need to stay in touch and maybe get you back on in a few months and hear more about how you're getting on there. So I wish you the best of luck with that. But more than anything, just a big thank you for taking the time to come and speak with me today.
No, of course. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Christian's experience working with enterprises to upgrade and migrate their technology and avoid being left behind that digital curve and get on that train to the future is quite inspirational. And I love his fresh approach to document creation, as well as why enterprises are using SaaS products for template management and where the Enterprise SAS ACM ecosystem is actually heading. Now, I know each and every one of you listening will have document management challenges. I just feel that in my tech spidey senses, and I've seen it happen so many times everywhere I've ever been. So what did you take away from today's conversation? Or what do you think of Christian's approach at Templafy? As always, email me at techblogwriter@outlook.com or tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. But before I go, I just want to give a big warm thank you to each and every one of you that take the time to listen to me drone on into your ears every day. So I'm going to make myself a nice cup of tea now and say until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.